Hello. Okay. Come on. That was fucking awesome. That was amazing. Like that's sports. That's what you want. Not this bullshit that happened last time. I guess it's fine for them. They can have their last year one. Golden Knights were in the middle of an absolute disaster of a road trip, but this is what Jack Eichel's return is supposed to be. This is him with the straight double birds. Absolutely beautiful. Could not have been better. Just completely takes over the game in the third period. Just ridiculous. Like he has the two breakaways in the first two periods, but it's like for that to go down the way that it went as the game continued on, it was just absolutely incredible. Like, how much it meant to him, how much it did seem to hurt him the last time. He was definitely kind of caught off guard last time and, didn't expect the booing the entire time. This time he came in and he was like ready to take names, chew gum and kick ass, and he's all out of gum. Is that however that line goes? I don't know how it actually goes, but it's like, we had talked about it in the past of like the moments that were leading up to him like becoming a Golden Knight and becoming away from what he was and whatever. Like, I didn't buy a lot of it. Like, I loved the goal against Ottawa. Yes, the overtime goal was what it was. This is what it was. Like, this is it. This is the moment. And I think you saw the teammates' reaction to like a stupid assist. Like, all he does is grab the puck off of a face-off and move it over to a guy who shoots it flukily off a dude's glove and into the goal. Like, that's a goal that's like run of the mill, and it's not, it doesn't take the lead. It didn't come back. No, that's the only thing that happened in that goal is it's a goal for Jack Eichel. Like, it's an assist for Jack Eichel. It was a point for Eichel, and you could tell it meant something to the players. And then for him to then get that and roll it into what it ended up rolling into. Like, it's pretty unbelievable to see it turn into one goal and then two goals and then three goals. His celebration after the first one is just fucking incredible. Like, just unbelievable. Like the classic giant middle finger to the entire city that basically ran him out of town, wouldn't let him get a surgery that he wanted to get. Then he comes back and they do not at all, they don't appreciate it at all. It's like, that's hockey. That's sports. That's what you want to see. Like, that's what makes this soap opera so great. And that's the type of thing that, like, over the course of an 82-game season, and I know we're loving the 82-game season as it stands at the moment. They've won 13 out of 15. It's incredible. All of it gets wiped away, and none of it really matters when it comes time to actually get these things done in April and May and June. But what's great about the course of the 82-game season is learning about the stories and the players along the way. And this is a moment that, like, this one will forever be cemented in the history of the Golden Knights. Like, that's a moment, that's a game that for the Golden Knights, he truly becomes your guy. Like, we didn't have playoff games last season. We didn't have, obviously there's the Ottawa goal. I think the trade in and of itself does it. The first game he plays when he rang the little siren, all of those different things. Like, it's all great. It's all awesome. It's all things you want to see. But you wanted that moment, that day, that game, that piece of, like, I don't know what it is that you grab onto and you say, he's ours now. And that's what it was today. Like, he's clearly a massive villain in Buffalo. And while doing that, as a Golden Knights fan, you don't feel like you're the villain as the fan, as we did a lot in the past. You feel as though that's our guy doing great things on the ice, and we're going to back him every step of the way for him doing that. Like, whatever you believe of the trade, and I didn't particularly like the trade itself. I still don't think the trade is going to end up being a good thing, but that's down the road. Doesn't matter. He's here now. He's on the team. We want him to win. We want him to succeed. We want him to get 100 points and 50 goals and all these good things. And even more so, you want him to become the face of the franchise, or at least a face of the franchise. I think this team has the ability to potentially have like 4 or 5. Stone clearly is up there. Thompson's making a run for it. Eichel can be up there. Theodore, Carlson, Marchessault, Smith, Pietrangelo, like all of these guys have the ability to do it. Hell, Stevenson belongs in the path. And then there's also like the ancillary characters of Martinez and Kessel, and it's becoming again a fun team to root for. And it's not just the winning. Like, today's not just about the winning. Today's about how they went about the winning. Like, whatever, you go and you beat Ottawa because they turned the puck over 4 times. You'll take the win against Toronto. There's all these different things. And I'll get into some of the stuff down the road of some of the things that might have been a concern in today's game. Whatever, we'll get to that. But this is the type of game that you remember. Like, we will remember this game, November 10th, the game that Eichel had the hat trick against Buffalo, the entire season. We will remember it next season. We'll remember it the following season. Like, it's going to go into the pantheon of one of the greatest road games they've ever played. Like, just in like the storyline of what it is. And that's awesome. Those are the types of things that you want to see. Those are the types of things that do band a team together. Like, I understand how important 9-game winning streaks are, but to do this on the back of the 9-game winning streak and the 5-game winning streak on the road, like, this is the type of thing. This is it. This is what turns you into, maybe you're not the best team in the league talent-wise or depth-wise or whatever, goaltender-wise, whatever you want to say. But these are the types of things that get you over the hump. More games like this, and there's been a few of them, but nothing to this degree. Comeback games, unbelievable moments for individual players. These are the types of things that make you feel like this is it. This is it. All right, like, why do we not feel the trade was the best thing? I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, and I guess I have to say it again. They traded too much. They gave up 3 first-round picks, and they bought a player that has a no-movement clause that's 25 years old, that wasn't able to play in the year that they were going to be $10 million over. And when they were, they didn't end up making that happen. They were all in last season. Now they just have to ride it out from where they're at. They've had to sell off multiple pieces. They had to give up about 6 pieces to make this happen. And now they have a guy who's 26, another one that's 30, and another one that's 33 that are no move clauses. The clock is running out. The time is ticking. It's going to be awfully difficult for them to get it done. I think the main reason that the team doesn't have all that much depth is because they made that trade. And they've made other trades in the past or signed other players in the past, namely Pietrangelo, that have made this team not be able to have depth. That, I think, is going to eventually be the undoing of the team. And there goes all the good vibes that I had going because somebody asked me a question. But I think that's going to be the undoing of the team. And is it going to be Eichel's fault? Probably not. In the end, yes, it's the decision to buy Eichel that's going to end up being the problem that's going to lead this team to not being able to win the cup. But here we are on a day where they now sit with a 9-game winning streak, 13 games out of 15, doing it in many ways. Now I'm starting to see a very similar path. I think they said on the broadcast, the odd man rush was like 11 or 12 or something to 0. Like, the Golden Knights gave up 0. I don't think that's accurate because there was a 2-on-1 that Pietrangelo just made an unbelievable play by not sliding. May I add in, he did not slide. And he just stood up and made the play and put it down on the ice, and then up we go. That's how you play defense in a 2-on-1. Don't fucking slide. Okay, but it's allowing other teams to screw up and you not screwing up yourself. It clearly is a method that's working, and it's working at a level that we haven't really seen. Like, the Golden Knights have never been 13-2-0. Like, they've had good seasons. They've had good stretches. And they have, I think that there probably is a stretch in the past where they have been 13-2-0 in a 15-game stretch, but not to start a year. And it's not going, in my opinion, the way that it has now. Like, they are not playing poor games ever. There are poor stretches in games, but there hasn't been a poor game since Calgary. And that's it. I didn't even hate the Colorado game. Like, maybe they weren't perfect in Ottawa. Maybe it wasn't perfect in Montreal, Washington. Some of these games, like, there are other ones out there. Chicago's a good example. Maybe there are things that you can sit here and say, this is not good. But over the course of 15 games, to have one game where you don't feel all that good about it and 14 you're pretty happy about, there's nothing wrong with, like, that's incredible. And that's the type of thing that, like, Now we start looking forward of like, okay, what does this team need to add? What can we get more? Like, what can happen? And like, it's not just about Tuch and Krebs. I'm seeing comments over here about Tuch and Krebs. Yes, Tuch was not good today at all. Krebs did not do all that much. Tuch is younger. Tuch is like the same age as Eichel, and Krebs is younger. And it's another example of this team not having depth by giving away 2 players to then have one that then leads them to have to give up all these other assets, the Dodanovs and Pacioretty's, and I understand what's going on. I get it. But the fact is, there is still a third line that is not all that good here. And I don't think you're getting 15 goals in 15 games or whatever they have by the fourth line, and the games matter. And then beyond that, when we get to the point where we have to have guys coming up through the system, they traded over and over and over first-round picks, and then the ones that they have picked haven't been all that good. Brendan Brasson's not doing very well in the AHL. We're not seeing much out of Zach Dean. Again, people want to make me be negative on a day that I came in and be positive. It's fine. Like, if that's what people want to talk about, fine, we can do that. The issue I have is that the current group does not have anything beyond what is currently in the lineup. Like Cotter for a Matteo, okay, but I don't think that that's actually going to change it. And as much as I loved the Cotter goal, I didn't actually like much of what Cotter was doing in the defensive end. I thought he was actually a problem today, and they got away with it because he scores the goal. Cool. But if they have any issue, and a lot of teams, like I understand if you sit here and say, like, what if you take McDavid off of Edmonton? Yeah, same thing. Like, that's going to be a problem. If he has any issue, that's going to be a problem. But the problem with the Golden Knights for me is it's like 9 players. If they lose any one of 9 players, I think they're in big trouble. And maybe they will prove me wrong. Like, there has been a time that I would sit here and say, like, I certainly didn't think they were this good. You know, they've proven a lot of people wrong. They've proven basically everyone who sits there and says anything other than this is a bona fide guaranteed playoff team at full health. And they're almost a guaranteed playoff team at not as full health, you know, average health. They're going to make it to the playoffs, no problem. Now, granted, they have 13 wins in 15 games, but there are still some issues, and we'll see as that goes on. But today, the focus today for me is all on the bonding of the team. Like, it's more about what came from this game than the 2 points or the 7-4 win, or heck, even the 5-0 road trip. Like, I think that would have been kind of the storyline had this thing just gone the way that it could have gone. Or maybe if it's just like, say it's 4-2 and the 3 goals don't happen and it just ends at 4-2 and none of the Eichel shit happens at the end. We're talking all about a 5-0 road trip. But I think that you look at that and it's like, how much do we actually remember the 4-0 road trip last year? How much do we actually remember the one from season 1 that they were 4-1-0? You know, it doesn't make as much of a difference. Now, 9-game winning streak, you can start to look at that. You can start to say, okay, that's going to band you together. But the moment today, when you saw the emotion from every single guy and you see what it meant to every single guy to have this player who is a phenomenal player on their team kind of become a true Golden Knight in that moment. It's like he's going straight heel against Buffalo and all in for the Golden Knights. Like, that's the type of thing that we're going to look back at, and we're going to say that's a game that put them on a path to make something happen here. And this is a game that I'll tell you right now, if they end up doing anything in the postseason, this is a game we're going to want to remember, because he is now a huge part of what they're doing. And he was in the past, but it wasn't as banded together as maybe the Misfit group or Stone when he came in and he went through the not a major with the group, or Pietrangelo with the multiple losses in the postseason that he's gone through, or whatever you want to look at. Missing the playoffs last year was kind of the only thing that brought them all together. But now you're starting to see him be a huge part of it. And then this is interesting in that Cassidy. Let me first tell you that this Periscope and all Periscopes after games are brought to you by Conler & Associates CPAs. ConlerCPA.com is the website. Go there. If you have any tax questions, call them up, request a free consultation, and they will tell them SinBin sent you, and they'll give you a free consultation. They'll answer all your tax questions. Crypto took a massive dump a few days ago, and now it's back up. So if you bought a bunch of crypto 2 days ago and now have a bunch more money than you had before and think, I don't know what I'm going to do with my taxes. Go to Conler and Associates CPAs, and they will take care of it for you. They will answer all your questions. They are fantastic. And trust me, Ray and Gary are going nuts over this game. I promise you, they are pumped about this. So moving on to the game itself. And okay, let me go back to Cassidy. That Cassidy's what Cassidy has added in the locker room. I actually think the main thing Cassidy's added in the locker room to me is the winning. Like, I think he's been a huge part of what they've been able to do. And what I mean by that is the system has become this don't screw up type of system, and then it allows them to get out and transition and take advantage of the other team's mistakes. That's the system that's been put in place. I don't think that was the system a year ago. And because that system has been so successful to this point, and that they have had a little bit of success on the power play, that is the reason why I think you're seeing the chemistry as good. It will be interesting as we go on, and as they hit some of the pitfalls through, how are they going to react to Cassidy as opposed to anybody else? And like, yeah, I know about the players playing for the crest and all these things. Like, it just, you wouldn't feel this way if they weren't winning. Like, it's much so a chicken and the egg. And to me, the idea of how they're playing and how committed they've been to the system and how successful the system has been is why you're seeing guys, quote, playing for the crest on the front. And really, they didn't today. They were playing for the name on the back of another guy's on their own team's jersey. So, like, that's not even what happened. So it's like, that is the type of thing that, again, I'm always like nervous to talk about chemistry and magic or whatever they happen to be. Some of it you actually have to feel. Today's the first true moment that I felt it in a meaningful way beyond just their winning. And like, what I mean by that is, like, any team that goes this long without losing is going to feel real good about itself. The fans are going to feel real pumped about themselves. It's all going to look really good. Everyone's going to say good things. Everyone's going to be upbeat, and you're going to have, as positive of chemistry as you can possibly have. And you're not going to ever have any sort of issue at all. But there aren't always moments in there that will kind of bring you towards what's going to happen when you need to turn that thing around. And the longer it goes, the easier it gets, because if they do have a bad stretch in, say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or 2 months or whatever, it's going to be a lot easier to look at the standings and say, wow, look at where we are. We're in good shape. But also last year, 22-12-0, they were in really good shape. The bad stretch extended for 4 months. So that's the part that, like, they weren't able to get out of it last year. Now, they had all the injuries. They were a shell of themselves. I get that. But they were unable to utilize what they built up at the beginning, because I just don't think that team had the moments. Like, even during that run at the beginning of the season, it was mostly just like, ho-hum, we're better than these teams, even with our players all injured. This is cool. There wasn't these moments that were really bringing the team together like we had with this one. Like, I think they've had in some of maybe the overtime wins. There hasn't been as many comeback wins because they're fucking never losing. It's insane. And that's another part that, like, the way that they've started games, the first period has been absolutely dominant. Like, it's unbelievable how good they've been in these first periods. And as long as that continues, they're not going to be behind very often. And if this team plays from ahead, they've proven how darn good they are. Look at the period. Just take the first goal out of the third period. Heck, you can even take the second goal out of the third period. Up until about 7-8 minutes in, it was basically I know it was a 5-2 game at that point, but it was pretty far into that period. There's nothing going on in their zone, like nothing. The Buffalo can have the puck, have speed through the neutral zone, and that's actually something that I'm learning more and more about this team. Speed through the neutral zone doesn't really matter, actually. Normally, that was a problem the Golden Knights had, and really against Colorado, that was a huge problem they had. When Colorado had speed through the neutral zone against the DeBoer system, it was going to be a problem. This time, it's really not. As long as they're not allowing an odd man rush, they're in really good shape. So when the speed is coming through the neutral zone, and you saw it from Montreal was passing pretty well. I thought Toronto had different times where they were passing pretty well. There's been other games before that. In those moments, even when the team is moving the puck around, playing the game with speed, as long as the Golden Knights are set up and in a enough of their defensive posture that they should be in, they're in pretty darn good shape, and they're not going to allow all that dangerous of chances. And whatever you want to believe about the goalies, personally, I still don't believe that the goalies are going to bail them out of any situation. The skaters have to get it done. So if the skaters get it done, these goalies are both, and I think Brossoit will be the same, assuming he doesn't get claimed. They're good enough to take care of the shots that come from the outside that make things happen, that put you in a situation where it's not all that dangerous of shots. They're going to take care of those. And as long as the skaters do their job, they're going to be perfectly fine. Once the game starts breaking down, once you start seeing more dangerous chances, as we have seen in the previous 4 games now, that's when you're starting to see, okay, there are some issues with what's going on in the goal. Is it catastrophic? No, it doesn't really seem that way. And really, when it is catastrophic, or when it's anything close to catastrophic, you basically will just point back to the defensemen and the forwards and say, look, it's the skaters' fault. We know they can play a system that does not allow many high danger chances. We know they can put themselves in a position where they can lock a team out. It's whatever the score happens to be, they'll lock the team out. Now, here's where I do find a little bit of concern, is that the leads have started to kind of diminish inside of these games. Like, normally a Cassidy team, when it's 5-2, they just go into that lockdown mode and that's it. Like, there's not a lot of chances. There's not a lot going on in front. They kind of just sit back and wait for their opportunities. And if they never take another shot the rest of the game, it's not that big a deal. The Golden Knights really haven't settled into that. They continue to attack. They continue to play the same way, but typically, as teams bring more towards them, as you start seeing, we saw the 4-1, 4 forwards and 1 defenseman for Buffalo today. We did see at different times their defensemen were being a little bit more active, more willing to pinch down. When that was happening, the Golden Knights have had some issues. And when there's added pressure and the team feels like we're going to go ahead and make something happen offensively, we're going to do more in this game than we have been to this point. Typically, when they're behind, the Golden Knights haven't actually dealt with it all that well. When they've gotten out to these big leads, they have allowed teams to crawl back in. Now, none of them have actually made it back in. So that is, take that to the bank. But again, and I looked it up today, if you go by points percentage, the Golden Knights have played 3 of their 15 games against teams in the top 10 in the league. Now, granted, they're one of them, so there's only 9 other teams. 2 of them are Winnipeg. The other one is Seattle. Seattle could not have played worse against the Golden Knights to do what the Golden Knights have done. Winnipeg, those are 2 good wins. And as Winnipeg continues to play well, those wins are starting to look better. But there's going to be a lot more tests on the schedule, and that's good. That's what we want to see. We're now to a point, or at least I am, to where, okay, this team's going to be able to beat all the shit. That's not a concern at all. And that wasn't really a concern I had coming in, but now we know that for sure. They're, for the most part, going to put out a pretty darn good effort during the teams in the middle of the league. And for the most part, that's going to lead you to wins. So that's going to put them clearly in the playoff picture. It's what are we going to learn over the course of playing the better teams in the league? The teams that are towards the top at the moment, the teams that are playing good hockey. That's what we want to learn. And the way that they've defended in certain spots does give you a little reason for pause. Is it a lot? No, it's really not, but it does give you a little bit. And so that's kind of something that I'm interested in seeing. But again, if you don't allow odd man rushes and you don't make mistakes to the same level as the opposing team is going to make, you're probably going to be in a pretty good shape most of the time. The only main problem that comes out of that is if a team doesn't screw up in your favor, then what? And like Calgary was a good example. They had the puck basically the entirety of that second period, and the Golden Knights kept taking penalties and chasing them and weren't able to make them have that mistake. And therefore the offense kind of completely dried up in that game. We've seen it in some other games. even when the Golden Knights have extended zone time in the offensive zone, we're not seeing a lot of great offense. You look at the goals today, they're pretty much all rush goals, except for the two that Pietrangelo sprays from the point, and one bounces off and in, and the other one bounces off right onto Eichel's stick. It's not pretty passing. It's not doing the types of things that like we saw from Marner in the last game. It's not the Thompson type of stuff, Tage Thompson, that we saw today. They're not a team that's going to break you down offensively. Whether or not that's going to be a problem, we don't know yet. At the moment, it absolutely has not. And as much as I want to bark about it, and I will continue until I see it change, because it is the main concern I have heading into potential postseason series against better teams, until it's proven that that isn't going to work, it's fine. Like, keep doing this. I'm fine with them continuing to do what they're doing and just beat all these teams and bond yourself together, take all these points, and we'll figure it out as we go. And then if we need to, they can make trades and add players. Sorry, Wiglaf needs to be picked up here. If they continue doing this, they're going to be able to make moves and figure out those issues that they have, and we'll be able to see them when we get to that point. And yeah, it is interesting that like you look through the schedule of November and it's not good. And so what that means is just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep playing good hockey. Keep keeping the puck away from the front of the goal and allowing your goalies to do what they've been doing, and just keep playing mistake-free hockey, and you're going to win most of them. And if they keep doing that, it relieves any pressure you have as you go on. Like, I'm hoping, and I know that this is going to be something that may come into into play as we move forward. I don't care how long the winning streaks are. I don't care if they get the President's Trophy. I don't care if they're the least goals allowed. I don't care about any of the regular season marks. Like, those are things that teams that aren't planning on winning the cup get excited about. Nashville is a great example. They fucking hang banners for winning the most games in the regular season. Who gives a shit? Utilize these games to learn about yourself, to learn about what shortcomings you might have, to try and figure out, do we have other pieces that can fill into other roles? Today, Cotter comes in, he takes that opportunity and buries it. Does a Matteo in that situation? Does the play even happen if it's a Matteo in that situation? I don't know. And then playing Cotter more, I think he'll get better defensively. I don't think it was his best defensive game. I think he'll get better. Maybe you are going to learn. And again, ain't broke, don't fix it. Nope, not for the Golden Knights. Cassidy does the right thing, puts in Cotter, gets a little bit more production out of that line. I know I'm underselling it, but Kessel scored while the fourth line was out there. It's a play by Waugh that really scores the goal, so that's not really a third line goal. And then the other one, it's a breakaway. Okay, whatever. But like the main part that I want to see over the course of the next 60-something games, whatever it is, I'm not that good at math, is let's learn, how often can you do this? Like, we've done it 14 out of 15 games, and maybe that's too much, but at the very least, we can sit here and say 80% of the time, if not more, the Golden Knights are going to put themselves in a position to play great, or at least play well enough to be better than the other team. And maybe that's not even right. They're going to play a game good enough to win the game. I'll put it that way. That's the way that they've been doing it. So far, 80-something, 90, it might even be 90% of the games, they have done that. So that is great. That is exactly what you want to see. How long can that continue? And does that continue over the course of all 6 months of the season? If you're doing it at an 80% clip, who gives a shit what your team actually, what pitfalls you actually have? Because if you do it at 80% in the postseason, and maybe, it may not even take 80%. If you play your absolute best, or at least a winning brand of hockey most of the time, you're going to have a great record in this league. There's enough parity in the league that you're going to have a great record. So I want to see how long that can go. And then as there are the hiccups along the way, where can we fill pieces in to make this better? Thanks to Bill for that. Beer for ye. I don't actually drink, but I appreciate it. Thank you for the $20 super chat there. And then Nick, Eichel was awesome today. Demons are exercise. Yes, it is. I am concerned with the goalies. What a road trip. So I wouldn't say I'm concerned with the goalies. I just think we're learning more about the goalies, that like in the event that there are breakdowns in front of their goal, I don't know that you're going to get elite level play to cover it up. So that means you have to be committed to playing the system in front of you. How does that work when you get to a situation when you play a team 7 times in a row that has the ability to break you down? I don't know. We'll see. Who cares right now, right? Like right now, all that matters is continuing to put yourself in a position where you're learning more about your team. We're 15 games in. We've learned a lot about the Golden Knights. The number one thing we've learned is that they play better than the other team most of the time. And that is because they don't screw up. I can't get off of that. They do not screw up. How many times, even in the goals, when you really look at them, there weren't bad mistakes that lead to goals. That is a part that we've learned in a big way. The next thing we've learned is they are still very much so a rush-reliant offense. Is that a problem in the regular season? It never has been. I guess maybe it was last year, but they weren't really a rush-reliant offense because a lot of their rush players weren't even in the lineup. So now, as a rush-reliant team, you have had, a run to the President's Trophy 2 years ago. You were one of the best teams in the league the first year. You made the playoffs in the 2 years behind that. You had these runs where you've been really good. It clearly does work in those in certain moments in the regular season. It has dried up in a big way in the postseason. We'll see. Play better teams, learn more about yourself. And I think the biggest piece moving forward now for me is let's actually get to know about some of the problems that are happening. Are these momentary problems that we're seeing the breakdowns? Or is this we're in a matchup situation where we are being taken advantage of a little bit when we go on the road? Like there were more goals allowed in this 5-game road trip than any other 5-game span of this season. You can move that bar any way you want. There's been too many goals allowed for how they're going to play. I don't think they're going to be a dominant offensive team when push comes to shove and we get down to the end of the year and into the postseason. So they're going to have to be good defensively. The good news is we are also learning that at full strength with these goalies behind them, they can be a very good defensive team and they can shut down excellent offensive teams for long enough to allow themselves to let that rush-reliant offense make something happen. Is this actually accurate? The PP and the PK is over 100%. How is that even possible considering they've allowed 2 more penalty kill goals? I'd have to look that up. What are the numbers on that, Kevin? If you can give me the 2 numbers of what they are in penalty kill and what they are in power play, I don't know. And yeah, this is a great point. The weaknesses that the Golden Knights have not cost them points and have not cost them games. They are playing a lot of games against middle of the road to bottom teams, and they're beating them. There's been no problem at all. And yes, Brandon is right. They have faced good offense. 78-23. Wow. 78's a disaster. 78-23. All right. Cool. I guess they are over 100. And look, I mean, today they could have gone the wrong way if things hadn't, power play didn't exactly pick them up tonight. Did they score a power play goal? I don't know. That's all I got today, I think. I'll try and do something Saturday night. We'll see. I don't know what it's going to look like Saturday night. I'll definitely do something on Tuesday night. And then from there, I'm basically out of here. So there's not many games before I go to Qatar. And then you're going to get a lot of Jason. Not as much of these. We're going to have basically a whole month off of these. Goalie interference is going to continue while I'm gone. But hopefully I'm not the reason that they keep winning because I'm going out of town for 3 weeks. Coming up. But that's it. Conler Associates CPAs, please give them a call if you have any tax questions. Yeah, good call, Mike. First goal was a power play goal. Yeah, I remember it now. The shot off the pads. Really good. All right, that's all. That's it. Good night. Unbelievable for Eichel. That was incredible. Loved it.